Let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually enjoyed being completely alone? No phone, no noise, no one asking you anything, just you and silence. For some people, that sounds like a nightmare. They'd rather be surrounded by people every single hour of the day. The moment it gets quiet, they feel uncomfortable, restless, like something is wrong. But then there are other people, and maybe you're one of them, who genuinely look forward to being alone, who recharge in silence, who cancel plans not because they're sad or broken, but because a quiet evening by themselves sounds better than any party ever could. And the world has always looked at those people a little sideways, called them antisocial, called them weird, told them something must be wrong with them. But here's what psychology actually says. Those people might be operating at a completely different level of self-awareness than everyone else. Stay with me, because this video is going to change how you see alone time forever. Part 1. Alone is not lonely. The first thing we need to get straight is this. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Loneliness is a feeling. It's the pain of wanting connection and not having it. You can feel lonely in a room full of people. You can feel lonely in a relationship. You can feel lonely at a party where everyone is laughing and you're standing there feeling completely invisible. But choosing to be alone, that's something completely different. That's a conscious decision, a preference, a need. Psychologists call this solitude, and they define it as intentional time spent alone that leads to rest, reflection, and restoration. Studies from Harvard have shown that people who regularly spend time in solitude have stronger emotional regulation. They handle stress better. They make clearer decisions. They know themselves more deeply than people who are constantly surrounded by others. Because here's what happens when you're always around people, like you're always performing. Even with people you love, you're adjusting your energy, your words, your reactions to fit the room. And that takes effort whether you realize it or not. Solitude is where you stop performing, where you get to just exist without any audience. And for certain kinds of people, that is not just enjoyable, it is absolutely necessary. Part 2. The introvert misunderstanding. Now, most people assume that anyone who likes being alone must be an introvert. And while that's often true, the real explanation goes much deeper than the introvert-extrovert label. Psychologist Carl Jung, who originally defined introversion, didn't say introverts hate people. He said introverts drain energy in social situations and restore energy in solitude. That's it. It's purely about where your energy comes from. An extrovert walks into a party and their battery starts charging. An introvert walks into the same party and their battery starts draining. Neither is broken. They just have different power sources. But here's what nobody talks about. There's a growing group of people psychologists now study called high autonomy individuals. These are people who don't just prefer solitude because they're tired of people. They actively thrive when given independence and alone time. Their creativity goes up. Their problem solving improves. Their mood stabilizes. Research published in the British Journal of Psychology found that highly intelligent people reported lower life satisfaction the more time they spent socializing. Let that sink in for a second. The smarter you are, the more your brain actually needs quiet time away from the noise of other people to function at its best. Part 3. What alone time does to your brain. Let's talk about what's literally happening inside your brain when you spend time alone. There's a network in your brain called the default mode network. Scientists used to think this part of the brain was inactive when you weren't doing anything. They called it the resting state. Turns out they were completely wrong. When you're alone and not focused on any task, this network goes into overdrive. It's processing past experiences, imagining future scenarios, making unexpected connections between ideas. Basically, your brain is doing its most creative and complex thinking when you give it space and silence. This is why your best ideas come in the shower, on a walk alone, right before you fall asleep, not in a meeting, not in a group chat, not surrounded by noise and other people's opinions. Your brain needs solitude to access its deepest thinking, and people who like being alone have often, without even knowing it, discovered this about themselves naturally. They've figured out that their best self shows up in the quiet, so they protect that quiet like it's something valuable, because it is. Part 4. The self-awareness advantage. Here's something that separates people who genuinely enjoy solitude from everyone else. They know themselves, not perfectly, not completely, but significantly better than the average person. When you spend real time alone, not scrolling, not watching something, just actually sitting with your own thoughts, you start to hear yourself clearly. You notice what makes you anxious, what makes you happy, what drains you, what you actually want versus what other people have told you to want. Psychologists call this self-concept clarity, how clearly and confidently you understand who you are, and studies consistently show that people who spend regular time in solitude score significantly higher on self-concept clarity. They're harder to manipulate, harder to pressure, more decisive, more grounded, because they've already had the conversation with themselves that most people are constantly running away from. Most people fill every second with noise, music, social media, TV, conversation, because sitting alone with their own thoughts feels uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable because they haven't practiced it, because every time it gets quiet, something comes up they don't want to face. But the people who like being alone, they've sat with those uncomfortable thoughts enough times that they're not scared of them anymore. That's not antisocial behavior. That's emotional maturity. Part 5. The social battery is real. One last thing I want you to understand. If you're someone who likes being alone, you've probably felt guilty about it at some point. Cancelled plans and felt like a bad friend. Left a party early and wondered if something is wrong with you. Chosen a quiet night in over going out and questioned whether you're living your life right. Stop that. Your social battery is real. It's not an excuse. It's not laziness. Neuroscience confirms that social interaction requires genuine cognitive effort, and for some brains more than others. Respecting your need for solitude is not selfish, it's self-awareness, and the people in your life who matter will understand that. The ones who pressure you to always be on, always be available, always be social, they're not respecting your energy, and you don't owe anyone access to you at the cost of your own mental health. So the next time someone calls you antisocial for wanting to be alone, smile. Because what they're actually describing is someone who knows how to restore their energy, someone whose brain does its best thinking in silence, someone with a level of self-awareness that most people spend their whole lives never developing. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely, it means you're comfortable enough with yourself that you don't need constant noise to feel okay. And honestly, that's one of the rarest things in the world. If this hit close to home, share it with someone who always needs their alone time. They'll appreciate that finally someone gets it. See you in the next one.